Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 107 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And to meet Karak with ACG. Thank you very much, Matty, for having me on still.
Oh, of course. And
we've got rid of Lone.
Yeah. I was going to say, we don't have Lone this week, or we might. I don't know. We think he's asleep. He might wake up and join us. We're not 100% sure, but we figured we got to fire this up anyway, and we'll do, like Karak said, we'll do kind of like a call-in show, and if Lone hops on, then we'll get him in here. But that'll be the surprise throughout the podcast. Anyway, thank you guys for spending your Sunday or whatever day you decide to listen to this by joining us. And as always, there are links in the description to our mobile versions of the podcast if you want to listen on the go, as well as timestamps. If you want to become a part of the conversation, there is a Patreon you can consider contributing to as well. Anyway, let's get into our first topic this week, which was, it was kind of obvious, but I figured it was something still worth discussing, which is that the E3 hype is ramping up, and someone asked Pete Hines about the E3 invitation Bethesda sent out. There were two little pictures that said, like, under construction, meaning two new games are coming. And when he asked, like, what are the two new games, I think he was just being sarcastic, because no way Pete's going to tell us. His response was, you think there's only two? And so now we know, at least to some extent, we don't know who it's coming from, what it could be. I mean, it could be as little as a mobile game, but we got more than two new games. We don't know if that means these are two new IPs, but still, we have a lot of new games being shown, which is always good to hear about E3 conferences, where sometimes I felt like E3 2016 was more of a, Dishonored 2 and a DLC showcase for most games. It was not weak, but it wasn't, obviously it's hard to compare to 2015, but to hear that there's a lot of new games coming for 2017, I think is more significant than people might realize.
Yeah, what I mean, you don't have VR, but are we assuming that Fallout VR, was that in that little, was it in the picture? Was Fallout, the VR game?
Fallout was in the picture. Elder Scrolls was in the picture, so that probably covers like Skyrim Special Edition on Switch and ESO, the Morrowind Vardenfell DLC. Prey was on there, so maybe they'll just commemorate the launch or announce DLC. Dishonored was there. I didn't see The Evil Within, did not see Wolfenstein.
So here's a question for you. If you look at the picture, in the top left is one of the construction sites. Okay? If you look closely, and I'm just saying this, for no reason, between the picture of the construction and the mountain, it looks like stars. Tell me if I'm wrong or right.
Oh yeah, dude, that's the speculation. People have been saying that for a while. Yeah, people. Have been
sorry, I just caught on to this. I
shouldn't have.
It's like stars.
No, people have been saying this for a while. My friends have been saying this to me for a while, and that's interesting that you bring that up, because for me, I was like, are we looking too deep? Maybe it's just a continuation of another.
They're there for no reason. Yeah, right.
Exactly, and I was like, okay, that is definitely suspicious of the Starfield that we've discussed on the podcast a lot. For those who have somehow not caught up on that. Starfield is a trademarked property by ZeniMax. It's an official trademark, and it covers the grounds between video games as well as a mobile tie-in game, which would definitely fit the Fallout Shelter, Fallout 4 theme, considering Bethesda Game Studios is the only one underneath all these different developers by ZeniMax that actually makes mobile games at this current point in time. So seeing stars on a E3 invitation, that definitely, you don't want to get ahead of yourself, but that's definitely telling of something.
Yeah.
I've heard wind from other content creators that at an event, when they were asked about Starfield, they like huddled up because they were all drinking. They huddled up for 2 minutes and then like dispersed and were like, yeah, we don't know anything about it. And they said it was like the least convincing thing ever. I obviously can't disclose who or whatever told me, but that in general also was like, okay, they're hiding something. Another interesting transformation in Bethesda as well that I want to highlight while we're talking about new games is that they are, and this is just in Australia, but it could be telling, is that they're taking the one person who was PR, I think her name was Becky, and they're splitting it into 3 different positions now.
Oh, wow.
Which, could signify a bigger change, because one of the hirings they're doing, and we've speculated about due to job listings that Starfield could be a multiplayer game, is the Blizzard former, I don't know if it was not community manager, but their former PR. Blizzard's big multiplayer, big kind of co-op company when you look at their games. So that one of their hirings is that. I don't want to say it's just coincidental, only because I look at when they hired the guy who handled the controls and shooting in Destiny, and they put him on the Fallout 4 project to do the same exact thing, fine-tune the controls and shooting. So you definitely begin to wonder a little bit.
And I don't think they can. I mean, you can't hide too much, otherwise you're going to spend all your money on some kind of shadow spy game. It's like at some point Bethesda just needs to fucking hire somebody and just be like, we're hiring them, but we're not going to tell you exactly why. And I think your guesses are probably pretty close many times to what's actually occurring, because there's some subterfuge. But I mean, come on, it's like at some point they're not Russia. They're not like American Russia hacking each other's fucking systems. It's like at some point they're just hiring people, and a big Blizzard get like that seems like there's a chance that they are ramping up for something massive, which would be very cool.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any ideas? Do you think it's going to be the new Wolfenstein, the new Evil Within? I think Evil Within was definitely a guarantee given the Psycho Break 2 job listing, but do you think Wolfenstein is something we see this year?
I hope so, because I just for some reason don't think. Remember, I'm not a huge fan of Evil Within. I think I think you were, and Cadiz sort of was.
I liked it a lot. I think compared to other survival horrors, I think it's a little underrated, in my opinion.
Gotcha, and that's probably accurate. Yeah, I would hope for Wolfenstein, just because unlike Evil Within, where I would need it to fix a couple things, Wolfenstein I don't really need it to fix a couple things.
Yeah.
And honestly, their turnaround should not technically be as long because of just the way the game is created. So it seems to me like that I would love to see the next Wolfenstein. I think it's time, and I think on the success of Doom, now apparently what looks like the success of Prey, there's
that was also on the invite.
The idea of delivering
Doom was on there as well. Right. So that was probably for Doom VR. But yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely going to see the Evil Within too. It's hard to believe it's been about 3 years since then.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, it came out October 2014, so probably by the time it releases, I'll say it'll have been 3 years. Wolfenstein, we know it is definitely coming. It was teased at the beginning of last year's conference. I think the thing I'm like wondering is, are all these games they're gonna try to release them in fall? Like, what's coming this fall? Is it gonna be the Evil Within? Is it gonna be Wolfenstein? Is it gonna be Starfield, which seems to be more and more believable as time goes on? That's my big question, because usually what you see Bethesda do is, they'll have like a bunch of big game announcements, and you'll have that one game that carries over into the next E3 that gets the spotlight. Like in 2015, it was Dishonored 2. Like that was a big announcement, but it didn't get much of the spotlight because Fallout 4 was coming out that year, so that got the spotlight. And then in 2016, Dishonored had this big E3 showcase for like a half hour. So Bethesda always has that, like any conference, that one big game. And that's what I start wondering. I'd imagine it would be the Bethesda Game Studios title if that is what's coming in 2017. But I also know it's dangerous to announce a BGS game early like that. Because their situation's special. So that's why I'm wondering, is like Wolfenstein and Evil Within coming in fall, and they're holding off on Starfield? It's
what would be cool?
Factors, so many.
I mean, I like Starfield, and I think it sounds, from us talking, you really like the idea, but if they had to, it would also be cool to do a double down and have one fall be the Evil Within and Wolfenstein, and then the next fall be Starfield. Because for some reason, I don't know how long they've been working on Starfield, or if they are, whatever. But I really want it to be. If they're gonna do something like that, I want that to be good, because we've had a lot of not so good in that territory, and so. True. If you know what I mean, if they're gonna do it, I'd rather have Bethesda be like, let's hire some QA, like let's be done in January, but release it in August and do nothing but QA it like a Nintendo game, just daily. Every single person's playing it. But that's probably wishful thinking.
I'm definitely out of the two. We'll say, let's say it's Evil Within and Wolfenstein. For me personally, I'm leaning more towards the excitement of Wolfenstein, because I was just rewatching some story moments in the game when I was talking about it in a recent video. And it was like, I think it's established how gripping a game could be if you're just watching a video and you get really sucked into it. I was watching one of the opening scenes where you're picking like who which of your soldiers you kill off. And the music, the way it was handled, where it's just this fucking loud screeching sound that doesn't rip apart your eardrums, but just like builds up. And if you don't do anything, everyone dies. It's just a really cool moment. And then the asylum scene, that one was really special too. I thought that game was fantastic. So to see Machine Games come back, I think they were also in 2014. I think they were May 2014, if I remember. So yeah,
I mean, it's time.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I think they could have done the Old Blood a little later. You know, put that back a couple of months to maybe have it be like a little in-betweener to make the wait less worse. Because I think it was kind of awkward. It was like, you know, we got this big Wolfenstein New Order, then you get the Old Blood, which is all right, I thought. I felt it was a little weak in the terms of narrative compared to the New Order. And then it just completely cuts off. It's like, was that to hold us over? Or were you guys just working on something and said, let's end this here and try something new? That's what started getting me wondering. Definitely.
Sort of weird.
Yeah,
when you like
strange.
Well, and when you look at like Wolfenstein and Doom, I don't know. It's sort of crazy that Wolfenstein and Doom, when they originally started, were they both under id originally? Man, I should know this.
Doom was.
This is what happens from not sleeping for like 36 hours. So I guess what I'm saying is it's crazy that some of my favorite shooters are all from one company, I guess, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Like it's weird to me that both Wolfenstein turned out, and I agree with you, the first one was the better one, you know, than the secondary expansion, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, Doom was so good.
Yeah.
And Wolfenstein is very good. The Old Blood was good, was probably by many considered very good. It's just very cool to see this, like them have all of this in their sort of like collection, their little pocket of IPs. It's very,
that's
very
the thing is that they, you know, and I don't say this really with bias. It's just they always make quality content now, and it's hilarious because I was talking about in a video today that, you know, this is the same group of people who published the game like Rogue Warrior, and they had this huge turnaround. And now since 2014, you got Wolfenstein: The Evil Within, Rage was another one, but that was beforehand. Prey, I haven't played it yet, but you have. Apparently fantastic. I mean, they just Dishonored as well. It's like so many fantastic games just come from this company. It's not just Bethesda Game Studios anymore. It's really something special that you can almost count on. It's like when you see Bethesda on the box, it's like, damn, this has got to be good now. You know, they're getting that type of name out there for past 3 years to have all these published games be good. Maybe the Elder Scrolls Online, when it first launched aside, Tamriel Unlimited a year later, much better. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, it's insane what they're doing. It's very remarkable. I don't see any other publishers that are this diversified, but also this consistent. You know, they
I mean,
so many different studios for everything, and they're all doing a good job.
I would like to, I mean, it'd be nice to have somebody who understands, did work, or is currently working with them, who can talk about if we're seeing a lot of, developer inter-team discussion between, development houses, like how things work. For example, when you find out that Dishonored 2, they reacted right away to the technical issues, which it did have a number of them. Yeah. And they were like, okay, we're going to make Prey in a different engine. And so they went out and got a off-the-shelf engine and said, we're shelving the Dishonored 2 engine for now. And it's different teams, but they were planning in one direction. They were like, there was a quick, I guess if you really look at the timing, that's actually a fairly quick turnaround for a decision and then moving forward with a game this good.
When you think about it, so, that's Dishonored came out in November, I think, and Prey just came out this month. I mean, that is a quick turnaround. That's also a good response to feedback, and good on them for sticking by their word. People were skeptical with the fact that there was not a Prey demo on the PC, even though their response was, "Oh, well, you got Steam refunds if you don't like it." I shook my head at that. I was like, "God damn!" But that definitely got me a little worried. And obviously we've heard some issues with testing on Prey that wasn't that good on PC, and so apparently the port turns out to be pretty good. I've also read that the keyboard and mouse controls are good, so that's excellent to hear. Let's talk about Prey a little bit. You played it, you beat it.
Yeah, twice.
Twice, damn boy.
Dude, I beat it and then while I was playing it and I was almost done, and I got the door knock and the other version of the game came. So I was like, well, let's do this. And then yesterday morning, codes came, and then yesterday morning, people figured out a way to unlock it early. So I was just like, I'll play two versions and test them graphically, where the first version I played all the way through and ended up last night after releasing the review. I just stayed up all night and played it. It's so, dude, like, honestly, we would need an entire podcast to talk about Prey, and I rarely say that. It is phenomenal in a way that I think some people are going to compare it to a BioShock, a System Shock, you know, those kind of games. I think that's completely valid, completely fair. But in some ways, it's not as good in various ways. I think BioShock had a better overall combat feel in ways, like its feel, not necessarily cooler.
I know what you're talking about. The wrench feels off, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it does a little bit. On the PC, it's better. PS4 is the worst, with Xbox One in the middle because of an input lag thing that slightly exists on the PS4. It's better than the demo on the PS4. But what you have is this game, dude, that, and I'll talk about the audio in a bit, but you have this game that, without going into spoiler territory, takes what I consider the level of narrative that BioShock does, where it's like you walk into a place and you hear statues telling you about man and grasping your destiny. And what Prey does is Prey is far more subtle about it. There's a far more cerebral, like, sort of almost a discussion between the gamer and the game world when you're playing Prey. And that's not hyperbole. That's within the first, like, hour or two. And remember, the
it's
demo,
definitely psychological.
Yeah, and the demo is not representative of the actual starting of the game. See, that's one I do have an issue with their demo for one reason. It actually had some things closed off. You couldn't do some things in the demo that are available to be done the moment you start the game. And a lot of people are like, the demo didn't feel good this way. It didn't feel like there was a lot to do. It's unfortunate because there wasn't as much. There are some things that, at least when I started playing, I'm like, I could not do that in the demo.
Interesting.
But to give you an example of mechanics, Matty, and why I think it was the first moment I went, you know, every game has your skill tree, right?
Yeah.
And those skills are tied into various things. That's all pretty normal. But when you walk up to something and it says, this is too heavy for you to pick up with your special mechanical hand.
Like Deus Ex.
Yeah, so what's weird is, like Deus Ex, but far more varied, just because you can't pick that up doesn't mean that's the only way to move it. And because everything in the game world's interactive, I was talking to somebody who reviewed it, and they're like, dude, I went and grabbed CO2 cartridges from all over the level and put them by it and shot them and blew it out of the way. And I was like, I didn't even think about that.
That is awesome.
But here's what I did. I walked around the corner, saw the health pack, because it's covering a health pack, and I basically crouched, ducked down, looked up, and grabbed it. And I'm like, they had to have known that was possible. And so I started playing with that. And what you find is the mechanics in most games, like punch, kick, this is almost like if you push them together, it elbows, but they don't tell you. So you have these very legitimate, very granular types of movements and maneuvers that are also, if you want to try to play with the world, completely and utterly capable of doing things that no one expects. For example, I had a guy in NeoGAF who's like, he got a gun way before he should have. And when he explained to me, it was basically like one of those marble things where a marble rolls down, knocks some dominoes down. He did like 80 things to get this gun, but it was because the physics worked. Yeah. And it's solid as fuck, dude. It is. I mean,
I remember my wow moment, because I've only played the version I played at the event, was when they were telling me, like, I was looking at this one room, it was locked, I needed a key card to get there. I remember, you know, my time was up. I was like, oh man, I wish I could have gotten in there. And the developer's like, oh, you know what you could have done is you could have taken your glue gun and you can like shoot it on the wall and build platforms to jump across and get around in there. I'm like, you can do that? You know, and I don't know if the game tells you in the tutorial or anything.
It does not.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I'm thinking of this as a almost a freeze ray type thing in or the plasmids in BioShock, where you freeze your enemy and you crack them open with your wrench and that's it. And then they tell me I can use this as a platforming tool. It's like, oh my god, I just had 40 different ideas hit me at once. And so what I was wondering is, are there any other gadgets that kind of offer that level of versatility?
Yeah, but there's no way I'm telling you. It's not only that. It's not only that, but 7 to 8 hours in the game. Of course, you and I play games about the same, but some people might take longer, right? They might. The skill tree changes, and this is one of the first games other than Deus Ex. So Deus Ex, usually when you played it, there was a stealth way, a skill technical way, and a firepower way to get to most places, to do most things.
Yeah.
this is the first game in a long time, a bit like BioShock, but I think far more, where you can start with the stealth, then jump to firepower, then jump back over to skill, then go to stealth to get somewhere. And there is an almost, I swear to God, it's not as fast as this, but I was telling a friend, it feels almost like Mario, where I'm free jumping, I'm like speed running, but I'm not speed running because you're thinking the entire time. But you're like, if I do this, I can do this. And the gadgets, I actually removed that from the review because I didn't want to get too spoilery, but once you start getting some of the stuff, it changes everything. The way you interact with the game world, the way it interacts with you, and the future of the game world. And that's all I can say. It's when I started playing, I was like, wait, what the? And it's cool because it'll cause you, if you're a person who pays attention and you listen and you look, there's almost a subconscious thing going on in some of the levels. And within about the first 40 minutes, I picked up on something. And I'm like, it feels like this feels like this one thing. And I don't want to say it out loud. And I was like, well, I'll hold on to it and see if this is true. And it's not the big plot point or anything that I'm talking about. And it was true. And it was true in a way that, like, let's say you know somebody who wrote a really good novel. You've read that novel. You go over to their house and there's pages of, you know, their character notes and story notes and plot notes. But there's nowhere is the name of that novel. But by looking at them, you can go, oh, that's Harry Potter, novel 2 or whatever. Something like that happens here with the very game world. And if you look at a level in a certain way, if you go to a certain place and look back, you might see something that you wouldn't see anywhere else. It's insane. The level of what the fuck in that game is insanely high.
Wow.
Like,
so, speaking of what the fuck kind of moments, we know Chris Avellone can deliver a pretty strong story.
Right.
He's got a good reputation. He's often praised for KOTOR 2 New Vegas, creating some really complex characters there. Can we say the same for Prey? Is it's, a really good story, the character's good?
Yeah, but the story's delivered differently. Well, it's delivered within action for narrative. So, like, a Fallout has narrative for narrative. You click A on a word, and it says that word.
Use those two big.
No, that's all right.
That's all right. Example, but I'm just saying, out of his work,
Yeah, I would say that because it's delivered in a more free-based style, where you might experience somewhat of a different. You might experience getting info differently if you go right and I go left into different labs. For example, that's an actual real example from the game. Depending on what lab you go into, you find little bits of info. So I personally feel, and this is just me, I like the story better than any game that I can remember other than System Shock 2. I think it trumps the BioShock games by a good amount.
Wow.
And one of the reasons why I think that, well, let me explain the audio for a second, because I put this on the notes and I wanted to get this out, but I won't take people's time up. But one of the reasons why, for example, is audio. So you've played all the BioShocks, and we all know, like I said before, when you walk into an area, statue with a megaphone, Atlas Shrugged or whatever, there's always something there, and it's usually there. You're supposed to listen to it and realize that this is a guy. Well, you're not supposed to, but this person who's talking and these people who are talking sound like they're talking about this great empire. But you and I know that hasn't worked out, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the subconscious feeling you get. And so you experience the level, and on the side is this audio that can have you sort of have a different color on how you experience the level, depending on if you believe what they're saying or if you don't, and how much you buy in to that overall feel. What happens in Prey is there's a level of narrative that occurs that is both audible, where people will say stuff to you, computers will talk to you and stuff like that, but it's also visual and it's very subtle. And so I think that some gamers will play it and go, they won't go, about the ending, but they might go, it didn't seem as like, I guess as whatever, as somebody else said, it's not as detailed. I think it's far more so, but it's not buffet style where it's right in front of you. It's more like you have to go out and hunt it for your own food. And so it's unique in that way. Yeah, it's, dude, I can't remember a game I haven't had any remorse for just getting zero sleep. Like, I'm supposed to do stuff tonight, and I was all, fuck it. And I was answering people's tweets at like 5 this morning. They're like, what are you still up for? And I'm like, yeah, I'm playing Prey again.
I get that a lot too. They're like, dude, do you sleep? I'm just like, not really. Sleep gets in the way.
Yeah.
I had one other question about Prey. What was it?
Weapons, skills, endings. There's multiple ones.
Okay, well, there we go. That's good to hear. That's definitely something I think people are out there curious about. So you definitely, I'd imagine, recommended this game in your review. I never had a chance to...
Yeah. I think it's, as I said, it's not perfect. PS4 has still got a tiny bit of a lag, but PC-wise, it has none of the issues that Dishonored 2 had. And you know me, I'm still livid, technically, about Dishonored 2's original release and how they treated that. But when it comes to games, I would say I'm usually not a honeymoon kind of person. That means if I play the game, it usually stays. I usually feel that way forever. I would say it's equal to Horizon. And I would say that I would say that it might be better. And there's a reason why that I can't talk about. And it's not the kind of Switch I think you and I... Oh, it looks like Lone just stopped on.
Yep.
It's not the kind of Switch that you and I... There is the typical story kind of conceits we all expect, the twists. But there's a far more subdued situation occurring, many levels of it. And I don't know if it was just Chris. I don't know if maybe Chris told people about his idea and people said, well, visually, we're going to represent some of these things. But it's insane, man. It is just absolute. And did you see the other reviews? Like it's only at 90.
I try to, for me as a reviewer, I don't want to say ignore, but I don't pay attention to them because I feel like that sets an expectation. I had an expectation personally that Prey was going to be a very good game. I had some concerns, obviously, I've expressed in multiple episodes of the podcast. But for me, no, I haven't really paid close attention. I usually listen for yours because I value your opinions more than anyone else.
It just got really good reviews. Like everybody, I think the lowest I saw was an 8. It's at 89 or 91, which is pretty good. I thought it would be higher, but I also think that that's the one thing with Prey is the narrative has a way that may not grab people. And combat, like I said, it's not BioShock for a reason until some stuff happens, and then it's not BioShock for another reason. It's so hard to... Dude, the review, hardest review I've ever done. I had to cut that fucker up. I had to remove... I had to use some bad footage where the capture card wasn't working perfect because almost everything's a fucking spoiler after a certain point. So I was just like...
I know what you feel about when I made my Persona 5 review. Yep.
It's
every piece I'm like, okay, this is definitely a spoiler too. I gotta fucking redo it. My last question before we get Lone in here is I find it interesting, and I want to know what you thought about the fact that this is a different team under the Arcane name. This is the one in Texas, but it's very much an Arcane game, right? You know, it's got that gameplay creativity. Maybe it's a step above because Dishonored 2, it sounded like, I don't think Dishonored 2 had a bad story, but it sounded like it was weaker than Prey in that respect, where it's kind of shocking. I think this is the first project to come out from that studio, and it seems like a home run.
Yeah, I think that's what that's what I was talking about when I was saying I'd like to hear how the developers feel their intercommunications are between dev teams. Because sometimes you don't get a lot, and then sometimes you get a ton, depending on teams under a publisher. But one thing about this, when you're playing it, it does feel a little bit like Dishonored in some ways. Dishonored's much more slick, much more, I'm going to cut off your head and slide between your legs.
Yeah.
But in no way, shape, or form do I feel that Dishonored comes anywhere near the gray ability that is available for you to engage in the game world with. It's a little less in your face. And in some ways, Arcane's already said some of the stuff that people thought was like a trick, like they had learned, is stuff they knew would happen. But stuff that's going on in Prey is very minute, little things that you can do that will affect the game later, that if you don't think on that level, almost a temporal level, if you're not like, okay, I just heard this, so I'm thinking maybe this, so I'm going to do this, but I'm going to leave this here because maybe...
Demands your attention.
It does, and that's what I feel, is I feel that it's one of those games that if you are a person who doesn't want to pay attention, you'll probably think it's good. But if you're a person who does, you may be in for a really cool surprise. But
we actually
I want to hear...
podcast.
Oh, yeah, we're live. We're live. You're live breaking. I'm excited to hear what you guys think, because Matty's got it. He's going to try it after he finishes up Persona 5, so you both will probably start somewhere around maybe same day, maybe a day apart. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, Lone, you missed it. I thought if you were here, you would have fell out of your chair. But he said this game's, you said narrative-wise better than BioShock?
Oh yeah,
Oh.
to me better than
Okay.
all of them, all the way to System Shock 2. System Shock 2 is probably the first time where when I look back, because I play System Shock 2 about once every 2 years to go back and visit it, and I would say that the way the narrative's handled in that is the closest to this. BioShock's a little bit more in your face, and I think there's some hidden stuff, definitely levels, but what goes on in Prey is so without
It's very
Without
often
spoiling
Karak can't
stuff.
find the words, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been listening for weeks.
Yeah,
So
it's like
I'll tell you.
I feel like I'm against the Borg. Like when I'm playing it, no lie. There's so many levels of thinking going on sometimes that I'm like, no way. And I told Maddie before Lone jumped on that one time I tried something thinking that won't work, and it worked. And I was like, what the fuck? Like it's like Gary's mod, Half-Life Gary's mod. Like what the fuck is going on? It just completely surprising. So, and I don't want to blow it out of proportion. I'm excited. I hope you guys love it. But yeah, I think it's a surprise. Big surprise.
There's a few things about that I want to say. One, it doesn't surprise me that the story is good because from my experiences with it, the thing that really stuck with me was the story. I think because obviously I haven't played past the first couple of hours, but the way it starts, it hooks you into the story very, very quickly.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
I know, because
dude, you ain't seen nothing yet, man.
this is the way it starts, so it's not too spoilery, but I'll keep it as vague as possible. But it starts in kind of the surreal world and gets dystopian very quickly, from my experience. And then obviously it gets better from there, so I'm fucking looking forward to it. But I have a funny story because like Karak was just like, oh, it's better than BioShock in terms of story. So I have a best mate where I introduced him to BioShock, and when he played it, he's like, yeah, man, greatest game in the world. Like, I just love it. It's my favorite game of all time. The story's amazing. And then a couple of years later, he plays The Last of Us, and he comes to me and he's like, I have a new favorite video game of all time. And my heart broke in like 10 different pieces. No, but I'm really looking forward to Prey's story. Honestly, I can't wait.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's just there's so many fucking games to play. So it's happening again. You know, the second May started up. Like April was that reprieve. There was just Persona 5, but Persona 5 happens to be 130-hour game. So it's like, guess what? You're really not off the hook. You're not catching up on shit. You're playing, if you like Persona, you're playing that one game that whole month, and that's how. I mean, I've enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, man, but like, that's how I'm gonna start off my review. I'm gonna be like, look, people, like I have been playing this game gradually over the course of the month. Like it has just been, and part of it's because like I'm a huge Persona fan, so I like wanted to just pad it out because I know once I'm done, like who knows when you're getting another, like a Persona 6. You know, it took 10 years to get Persona 5. It's like you don't want to just blow through it, but fuck, every bit of that game is fantastic. So that's the thing is my issue is that they're all good. You got Prey, fucking Nier, like.
Persona, Horizon, Prey, Nier, Neo, lots of ends. I will say a little warning to people that in the demo, the input lag it's fixed almost completely. But the audio issues, I had some weird audio issues that were not, so the demo had some, but then those went away. And now I had new ones, one of them including these momentary cutscenes. There's not a lot of them in the game, but when they happen, they were so loud, they actually maximized all my volume levels. And so at the middle of the night, it's like, you want to read. And it's so fucking loud that I was like leaping at the TV screen. I didn't know if I was going to push it down or what. It was one of those moments where you just, your animal brain is like, what the fuck's happening?
I had games like that. What was it? It was For Honor that when you open up the game, it automatically changed your mic input settings. I don't know why games do that.
God, that's annoying. Yeah. So there's that. And then Rejeku on my channel did have some surround issues. I'm running a 5.1, 7.1. I do headset tests and everything. I was pretty okay, but there's the occasional time where you're like, it's not as wide as it should be. So a left is more of a right, like it should be way over here, and it's a little bit closer than you would want. I hate that shit because
I do too. That's it's like a little fucking thing that
it hinges on audio though. Yeah. Audio is such a tool for gamers. It has to be a tool for gamers. You have to do it right.
How about for our next topic, Lone, you'll like this one, is that there was an interview with Epic Games Japan, and they confirmed that there's 20-plus games in development for the Switch. One of them has already been ported. That was that Snake Pass game The one where you like
Wait, from Epic or?
I think it's just
using their engine,
using the
Unreal
engine.
And we don't have any of those announced, and they said they're going to be releasing over the course of, or announced over the course of time. And I mean, E3 is pretty close, so I think we're going to see a plethora of games coming to the Switch pretty soon.
I don't know what Nintendo's going to do, because obviously they don't have their E3 presser. I don't know if they're having a Nintendo Direct before that and then showing all the games at E3.
They're gonna do
no.
it.
There are articles coming out saying, "Hey everyone, Nintendo's not having."
They have a
E3
new
press
system
conference.
this year. They can't be that stupid.
But I was just like, they never have one, at least in recent years.
Yeah.
No
way.
But maybe they're going to have a Nintendo Direct, because with the Directs, don't they just like announce them like out of nowhere that they're doing
It's
it?
kind of a video.
It's like, yeah, we're ready now.
I think for E3, I've never really watched it in Nintendo Direct. Usually I just get the email and go through all the information. It's exciting. But I thought with the Direct at E3, they do a live stream and announce the news and show a trailer and all that stuff. It's like their own conference, but in the confines of their own office or some shit. If I remember, I don't know. But I mean, I can't see why they wouldn't do that. I mean, this year is huge, and this E3 is like probably their biggest one in years. They need to announce pretty big games. I have to imagine they know.
It's the fastest selling console of all time so far.
Of all time?
Apparently, isn't that right, Karak? I mean,
it's what, the fastest selling?
Yeah, Nintendo
for its
Switch
initial
is
time frame.
Exactly.
Yeah. For their initial time frame, it is. Yep.
Wow.
How insane is that?
How about
but
that?
No, I'm looking forward to it, because right now it's interesting. I still have like 80 hours or something in Zelda, but I'm taking a bit of a break from it because I haven't finished it yet, and I have a big trip coming up, so I want to save Zelda for that.
Okay.
Playing Mario Kart, see Minecraft, that's releasing next week. See Street Fighter 2 or whatever it is.
That picture you took of your girlfriend playing your fucking Switch, that might as well have been a promo image. Like
no, it literally was
like
a promo
image. Like the way... Wait, what?
I said it might as well have been a promo image.
No, I was gonna say that, like the quality of the image. I just had to point that out. It was so good. I was like, did he like download that off Nintendo's site or some shit?
No, like she was, because we were on a flight back home and we had Mario Kart. Like she bought it for my birthday, and then it's like, can I play Mario Kart? Then we're playing it together, like with the side by side screen. I'm like, you can just play it, it's fine. And she's playing it probably more than I am.
That's awesome.
Wow.
No, it's awesome. But no, yeah, really looking forward to whatever games the Switch has. I will say that it probably does need not games that are just that are already out there on another hardware or device that are just coming to the Switch. So again, I've already played Street Fighter 2. I've already played Minecraft. I hadn't played Mario Kart 8, but obviously some people have if they've played the Wii U version. I think eventually we're going to start to need brand new games, and hopefully we'll get that because the Switch is selling so well. And it's going to take a couple of years, 2-3 years for that to happen. And I'm happy to have these kind of other games come to the system in the meantime, and Virtual Console eventually. But yeah.
One thing that I knew was a turning point was today, for the first time ever, I actually got, when I got a review request or a review copy request for a title, one of the options was actually the Switch. And I was like, holy shit.
Holy shit.
That's awesome.
Right? That's when I was like, wow, this must be that there are people supporting this, because it was like PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch. I was like, fuck it, give me the Switch. I was like, let's go. Like, let's support this thing. Actually, it's not under embargo, I can say. It was the NBA Playgrounds, that NBA Streets looking game. I was like, dude, I gotta check this thing out. I gotta see it. So I'm excited to play that. And they said they didn't have PS4 codes in, so I was like, yeah, give me the Switch copy, man. That is perfect, because that's what when I saw that game, I was like, that would be good on a handheld.
That is perfect, yeah. I played it, and I don't know if you got the other update, but the embargo dropped because they accidentally sold it for free for the all day today
on the PS4.
So, yeah. So they sent an email and they're like, embargo's dropped. You don't need to wait till Monday. And I was like, that's weird. Why? And then I logged on and started looking at forums, and people are like, it's free. Go fucking download it for free. And I was like, what? They totally screwed the pooch.
Yeah, that sucks, dude. Because I'm sure the game looks fun. So my fingers are crossed on that. But that for me was like a big turning point. Not seeing, because those 20 games could be like 20 more Snake Passes. Like, yeah, they're fun. Whatever games. Not that Snake Pass is bad. I've heard good things. It's just that's not that game that sells more consoles and gains more attention. But what excites me is seeing that, you know, for example, a developer saying, let's get our game on the Switch as well. They see an audience there. So that, I think, is a good sign of improvement.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Big reveal happened this week, one that I never even began to expect happen in general, which is Darksiders 3. Now, I've only played the first one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I've only played the first one. Never got around to the second one because I forgot what game came out around that time. But I was playing something else, and I just didn't have the time or want to play it. My friend Connor, he played it. He said it's a really good game.
Yeah, it is.
And some gameplay dropped as we're recording this today on Friday. Some gameplay dropped for Darksiders 3, and I only
actual
saw
gameplay today.
Yeah, and I only saw the first like minute and a half, and it was very. I mean, it was pre-alpha, and it's come out in 2016, but the combat I saw wasn't that good as far as I was concerned. Not that I'm sold on flashy effects and stuff, but it didn't look like there were many mechanics involved in the combat. It looked like more of a simple, you know, heavy attack, light attack. There weren't any, and mind you, I didn't watch the full gameplay. I should mention that. There could have been cool moments that I missed, but
yeah,
I didn't see, like, for example, in I remember Darksiders 1, like, you'd fucking like rip the angel wings off of people and stuff. Like, you'd do some really crazy shit. It was like God of War. It really was. And
it was really fun.
I didn't see, yeah, it was a good time. I didn't see that in this gameplay. Like I said, I didn't watch the full thing. I don't know if anyone here has.
So I have it on the screen now. You can talk, Karak, as I watch this.
So, yeah, I mean, I did, but I agree with everything Matty said all the way through. So I did watch it all, and it's pretty friggin' rough. And I think that it's great, you know, pre-alpha. So like that's expected. But at the same time, even some of the stuff they showed just wasn't. It just didn't do anything. Like, and sometimes you wonder. It did exactly, and sometimes you wonder like how the decision comes about to show it. So that could be there could be a reason why they decided to show it now, and maybe it's because they want to.
Was it because of the leak?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is like, did they just decide to
I just heard
get out
through the?
Well,
oh wait,
it
was leaked the night before. Right, never mind. Sorry,
it leaked the night before.
So
there were a
close.
couple of images. Yeah,
my bad.
So it just, to me, you know, it is alpha, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of alpha games that grabbed me, and at least right now, I'm just like, okay, well, that's a game, and I'll shuffle it into the list of titles. But right now,
it's interesting because obviously this is by a new developer, is my understanding.
Right. That's
and there are a few camps on the internet in terms of what people think about Darksiders 3. Some people are just very happy to see one. They thought the franchise was dead. Some people, even though I believe this is the minority, hate that there's a female protagonist, even though it's part of the fucking law. And then there's a third group of people, which I do see their side of it. They don't care, you know, what gender the protagonist is, but they think the character model looks a bit weird. And I agree with them.
Yeah, I agree with them.
When I first saw her, I was like, yeah, like I like her hair, I like her character design, but like the model looks
did the hair
more
so right in the combat. I don't know if anyone saw that.
They did the hair so right.
Flowing.
I saw it, but the model kind of looks more League of Legends-y than Darksiders-y. I don't know how else to explain it.
Bayonetta. It looks like a poor man's Bayonetta attempt. And
it's leaning on the cartoony side more than the other side, right? And I don't know. It was like I still think it has promise, but just that animation from the trailer, I was like, okay, this doesn't look like the Darksiders I remember. And again, different developer, so you know they're employing different graphics techniques. But maybe that is going to sift through into the gameplay. It is a different character, of course, so of course we're going to have different moves, etc. But I don't know. I'm worried that it might be a bit too different for fans, especially fans that really like Darksiders 2 that I haven't played.
One thing I think we should consider when looking at Darksiders is, in my opinion at least, and mind you, this has come from someone who's only played the first one, is that this series has never been absolutely spectacular or anything. So it's like, I think with all the good games coming out, our expectations are like up here for everything. And I think Darksiders 3 might want to tone it down just because new dev series has never been like absolutely incredible. I think it's got a cult following. You know, obviously people were really excited for Darksiders 3, and I can see why I was excited when I saw the announcement, because I was in that boat that people are like, you know, it has potential. Now it's kind of dead. So I'm surprised they even managed to get this one greenlit. You know, there must be some good interest there for them to actually do it. But my thing is that I think we need to lower our expectations a little bit of this game.
Yeah.
But that's saying only from the first one, because I know the second one's like open world. It's got quests. It's got a lot of stuff, and I'm not sure.
I should play
stark
that.
Improvement.
I need to.
Yeah, I think it's only like 35 hours ish long, so it's not like a crazy big title. Where it's definitely doable.
Yeah. By the way, Karak, I forgot to mention, this is completely off topic, but how long is Prey?
It's probably depends on how you play and what difficulty, but I would say for a normal game player who's just doing the basic main mission and doing some side missions because maybe it grabs their attention, it's probably 14 to 16 hours. If you start doing the side missions, and then depending on if you listen to the story, you are easily doubling that, if not going higher.
Holy shit.
And I can't. I'll talk to you guys after the video,
sure,
but I mean, there's some stuff that it just changes. Yeah, it's
Lack
cool.
of words, yeah, that's great.
yeah. It's but yeah, I would say easily most people on normal will get 15, and then higher from there, depending on their skill base.
Interesting.
Cool.
So when do we think? I know Darksiders 3 has a release window of 2018. When do you think, based off the pre-alpha gameplay, can we expect that? Because for me, I'm thinking late 2018.
Yeah, I'm thinking mid to late, definitely. And maybe, like, I don't know. It's THQ Nordic, right?
I love seeing that name around again, man. THQ.
Yeah, it's nice to see it again.
No, Challenge Everything was EA. What was THQ?
Was it like slogan?
THQ. Yeah, like when you start up the game and like all the devs and publishers' names, and I think EA's was Challenge Everything, but THQ had the fucking like metallic slam, like the this is a THQ game. Like that
game's starting.
It's like this is gonna be fucking heavy, or it's gonna be a Nickelodeon tie-in game. Happen to be the latter most of the time for me, but yeah, for me, I'm thinking late 2018, just because it looked very rough.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I'd say mid to late 18.
Interesting. Right now, we got the Elite Dangerous thing.
Oh,
yeah, you can explain that, because like you briefly brought that up, and I still don't understand it.
Yeah, so we talk about this a lot, especially I do, because I bitch about complexity without a reason or without a defined explanation in a lot of games, and so you sort of bounce off your expectations of what you can do. And a lot of times that'll cause somebody to just be like, I can't really figure this out. And for a game like an Elite, which is a PC title, Star Citizen coming up, those kind of games, usually you hear a lot of people saying keyboard fucking shortcuts are ridiculous. And it's true. There's like 300 bindings in Elite. I mean, it's unbelievable. And so a lot of gamers don't want to get into it. So I wanted to remind people that there is something called Voice Attack, and it's $10, and it's voice speech recognition on your computer. And its level of accuracy is so freakishly high that I use it now for everything I do. I use it for Premiere. So instead of hitting a shortcut for cutting, I just say cut here, and it cuts. I say paste here, boom, pastes. I open up Windows. I do, and because it works for anything. It doesn't just work for games. But for Elite in particular, you can get it. You can get a profile. And what that profile does is it allows for you to use your voice for 80 to 90% of the game, including just saying something like handover takeoff procedures, and the computer will just be like, okay, and it'll take off on its own. It'll signal, it'll tell everybody that you're leaving. It does everything. And what that allows is it allows for people. I have some friends who are disabled, and they left. One of my friends doesn't have a lot of use of his left hand, and the other doesn't have a lot of use of his right hand, and then another person has very little use of both. And luckily with Elite, flying can be done with a joystick, which is a little bit easier for somebody like that versus, say, a mouse. But those keyboard commands are hard, man. And I know what I'm doing, and hitting Control Alt Q Q W, in the middle of a battle is really difficult. Mm-hmm. And I think it's fantastic technology, man. And what's amazing is they now added the voice packs, which have been around. So a lot of people are probably going, if they know about this game, they're like, he's late to this. And I am. It's just something that came up, when I was talking to some disabled gamers. But the voice packs now for like William Shatner. So basically what happens is for $10, William Shatner has recorded 20,000 lines of dialogue. I don't know how many, but he's in your computer. So when you're flying, you can say Orion, which is his AI. There's Brett Spiner, who is Data. There's William Shatner. There's Doctor Who doctors. There's a couple different actors. You can say, tell me about a random constellation, and they'll just tell you about a random constellation. You can say take off, and he'll say, setting systems now. You can say, engage full warp, and he'll say full warp now, and it's all delivered like William Shatner would deliver it. And awesome. It's fantastic to fly a game and fly a spaceship game, which are known to be fairly lonely. Elite is actually, that's one of the things about Elite, is you can travel for days and days and days on your own. And having this AI, there's already somewhat of a basic AI there, but having it be an actor and a ton of options and have it all work, I cannot describe how much that has increased my enjoyment of that title. And it works with Star Citizen. They've already got some voice packs for that. But they're all actors. I mean, that's another cool thing, is it doesn't feel as nerdy. It's not like me recording it going, this is ACG, let's take off, Yeah. Instead, it's like William Shatner, and it's so fucking cool to hear him like talk about Sagittarius or something. It's insane. And there are so many lines of dialogue. And those are separate things. Voice Attack just allows you to talk to your PC and you don't need, I think it's $10, or you can use the free version that has 20 commands, which isn't bad. But you can buy these packs, which is a separate thing where the AI additionally talks to you even more. So wow. I just wanted to bring it up because we've had one or two people in Discord who talk about having a disabled friend or something like that. And a lot of them can talk, right? I mean, that's not their issue. Their issue is mobility of a limb. And it is awesome to be able to play a game. A sim game, for example, I had sim set up so I could say build a building here, and it would literally just go ticka 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 ticka, and then I could drag the mouse and drop the building, and it goes on all the menus.
Wow.
It's just and it's great for people like that. And so I just wanted to put it out there that it's there. And on my channel we have a ton of people on a server playing right now, and everybody's just like, I've got Data, and somebody else is like, I've got Doctor Who number whatever, and it's so cool to have everybody. You can hear their AI too because you'll get close and you'll hear their AI go like, should I turn the shields on, Captain? And you're like, yes. It answers. It's so awesome.
That sounds so fucking awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to put it out there for folks.
Yeah, speaking of those types of struggles and everything, I wanted to bring up one other thing that I was contacted about. I'll have a video dedicated to this tomorrow, but just for the sake of those who listen to the podcast, the link's in the description as well. There was a guy who contacted me by the name of Jason, and he was through my Patreon. He messaged me, explained his situation, said that his wife's very ill, that it's a steady decline now, and that he and her have been fans of Bethesda for a long while now, since I think Daggerfall, he said, yeah, and her as well. That's her favorite game. And so what they did was they got into contact with Bethesda, and Bethesda had Todd Howard sign a copy of Skyrim Special Edition, had him sign the custom Skyrim Xbox One Slim, which is sick. There's only like 20 of those, and this is the only one that's ever been signed by Todd. And they sent it to them, as a gift. They said, here you go. This is yours. You can do with it what you please. And they said you can keep it or you can sell it if you want, whatever. And the reason they brought up selling it was because this Jason has a goal that he wants to meet with his wife, which is, she's been in a wheelchair for a while now and hasn't been outside her city in 18 years. And so what he's trying to do is raise money for a canal/river boat, which he will use to have her see the sights, because she likes to draw and paint and all that stuff. So it's usually to spark something along those lines. So down below in the description, I will have a link to the eBay listing for those who want to just up the bid on this Skyrim Special Edition signed by Todd Howard, and the Xbox One signed by Todd Howard, as well as the GoFundMe page, which is to help fund the thing we're going for here, which is to get this boat and all the different expenses that surround that boat to hopefully make, the woman's name is Paula, make her dream come true. So if you guys are interested in helping out in any way, shape, or form, I personally have donated. I'll have a link to that in the description down, or have the links in the description down below. But I thought that was fitting to toss in there while we were talking about disabilities and whatnot, because it's it's one of those things where it's that's where I think the power of video games really shows, is that, we got our own communities. We're aligned to our PS4, our Xbox One, our PC, Master Race, all that shit. But when it comes down to this stuff, it's like everyone kind of strips away their fanboy armor, and they're like, okay, let's help out one of our own. And so I hope that's going to be one of those moments, personally.
That's awesome. So this is something similar, but I'm not going to direct attention away. But the other day, there's this charity in Australia which has launched a Kickstarter campaign. It's similar vibe with the story, and they're launching this campaign to launch a web series about helping people deal with mental health through the use of video games. And they're talking about how positive games are in that regard, and they're trying to raise a certain amount of money. So I'm not going to talk about links or anything for that, but it's just another example of how awesome this industry is.
Absolutely.
Dude, I don't know I think you guys, I would assume everybody here has been contacted, because they contacted me, a very small number, but I think it's Wounded Warrior asked me to go up to Portland, which is a couple hours away, and play video games with some veterans and do stuff like that. Like that kind of stuff. Yeah, it is. It's like, that's what, like you said, it's like we all may bitch and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But in the end, we're allowed to bitch because, not to be rude, but a lot of times our shit works, and there's people who have really terrible things going on, and we forget sometimes. And they're very cool. Sometimes you'll never hear about those things, and then something like this will pop up. And I think that it only benefits everyone if people assist that kind of situation. There's literally no downside to it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, but it's interesting. We all had our own little tidbit there to share. But yeah, let's move on to something else. A little more. Speaking of bitching, actually, Justice 2 DLC, huh?
Whatever.
Here's the thing: is that, like, I get that they announced a bunch of fighters beforehand, ladies and gentlemen. I know there's people out there who would defend NetherRealm to the grave because they're the OGs and all that shit. Right. But I've hated for as long as I can remember how they do DLC. I can't stand it, especially and I grow up in, and I think we all have grown up in the era. The fighters are in the game. You unlock the fighters through playing the game.
And then you have secret fighters, yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind buying fighters after the game launches. This goes with any kind of DLC. And I get that, you want to capitalize on the most interest. It's a business decision, so it's like this can apply to anyone else. But it just, with fighting games, I feel it's different for some reason. Maybe I'm wrong there.
Yeah.
But, I fucking hate how, like, you show 3 fighters off that are probably ready for launch. They're probably good to go. They're probably close to good to go. And you're going to sell them later on. Like, especially with the way free DLC has been trending, we see a lot of bigger games saying, like, and especially multiplayer ones, and Injustice 2, its legs will be found in its multiplayer. They're like, don't worry, the DLC's free. Fucking EA is doing a season pass for free, as far as we know right now, at Battlefront 2. It's like, a fighting game would excel with free DLC. And I know that right now the trend is, you look at Killer Instinct, they do a season thing every couple months, and they release a bunch of new fighters. No one in the fighting genres really changed that. They still sell the fighters progressively over time. Like, I'm waiting for someone to break that mold and be like, free fighters, and just keeping that support alive and doing cosmetics. Fucking pull an Overwatch. Cosmetics, give us the free content up front. Overwatch was just confirmed that it made over $1 billion in less than a year. I don't know what more math you need there than, holy shit, if we make a good game that people like, and that we keep updating content for, and we build a community around that, which is easier said than done, but I'm just saying, like, I think a fighting game, it's very well possible, especially another round fighting game. And you got the bonus here. You got Injustice 2, which is all, you see that fight how you want kind of thing, or whatever it was called, where you're equipping different pieces of armor and moves and shit are unlocked through these pieces of armor. Like, that's awesome. And just the way NetherRealm has always handled DLC gets me salty. I know I'm in the minority on that.
Because I was gonna say, when I first looked at the trailer, I didn't have that many dislikes, and it's still like it doesn't really. But going through these comments, there's like 1 in maybe 20 that's upset at the fact that DLC is released before,
like I said,
or DLC was announced before release. There's even one person that was like, "Thank you for showing us this," instead of just like a silhouette of a character we don't know about for DLC. Like,
they
really
used to do that. I remember that.
Yeah, which
That's
I
the
guess
thing,
is
like,
more on the egregious
they
side.
did that in a previous game. It's like, how do I word it? Like when you're reviewing a certain game, there's improvements you'll look at that are like, okay, this is better in the previous title, but let's look at it in the games in 2017. How much of an improvement is it there? You know, I look at, for example, Persona 5. You can switch out characters in your party in combat, and they get XP when they're outside of combat. And before any Persona game, that has not been a thing. It's like, that's awesome for Persona 5 compared to the rest of the series, that now I don't have to pick like 4 party members and just consistently use them all game. And instead I can just battle with whoever because they're all going to be getting XP. But in the terms of games nowadays, that's expected. So is that really that big of a deal? And I think it's the same thing with Injustice 2. It's like, thank you for not showing us silhouettes. It's like, that's good for NetherRealm. That's expected now, though. Like, they just kind of caught up with the times. It's what bothers me most is that one of the DLC characters is Sub-Zero. And what I view this as is that the second he comes out, the balance is fucked. Because when there's a Scorpion or when there's a Sub-Zero character that hops into Injustice, I think it was Scorpion in Injustice 1, you got that Scorpion main, he's got that same fucking moveset from Mortal Kombat, and he fucks your shit up. Because Scorpion's a really easy character to use and exploit. And that, to me, is what pisses me off more than anything. Because I played Injustice a lot. I played Mortal Kombat 9 a fuck ton. Mortal Kombat 10, not as much. But when these DLC characters step in, they usually just upend the balance. That's what I get afraid of more than anything. And especially when they bring in the Mortal Kombat fighters. I get the hype, the cross-universe stuff. But it's especially when it's fucking Sub-Zero or Scorpion.
The funniest, I was looking at Twitter last night and someone tweeted out, "Oh look, they announced Mr. Freezeman for Injustice 2." I don't know, I had a bit of a giggle because I can see
saw his
easily
boots in the blue, and I was like, "Oh, they're gonna do Mr. Freeze or whatever his name is," and I was from Batman. I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And I see it's Sub-Zero. I'm like, "God damn it!" Like,
look, I'm not gonna lie. Like, Sub-Zero
Sub-Zero's
is my favorite character, right? But I guess it feels kind of weird. Like I would expect, not really expect, but having Sub-Zero announced as a secret or a surprise after the release, I think would just be more impactful. Like right now, you have this game which is releasing weekly or whatever trailers. You know, we saw the Joker one, which people upset. He looks like this kind of
like Leon
edgy
Kennedy
teenager.
Fucking crosses the Joker.
Yeah, but like
awesome.
I think that aspect of the game and those kind of trailer releases speak on their own. I don't know whether it was really necessary to say, and also we have Sub-Zero. Like, I don't know who else would buy the game just because of that extra DLC release trailer, and if it were to come afterwards and say, "Oh look, now we're releasing Sub-Zero," that would spur further sales of the game at that point instead of now, because now it's just, you know, chuck into a bunch of other character releases, which it gets lost in the shuffle. And I think it's less impactful now as opposed to after release.
That's the thing, is especially with Injustice, where you're working with superheroes, so you got those people who are like, man, I hope my fighter makes it into the, or my hero makes it into the game. And let's say there's someone who's a big fan of Starfire. I love Red Hood. You know, for example, I wanted him in the game, and I guess you, in a weird way, get that with Damian Wayne. But point being is that you see that and you're like, oh man, like I want that, and so people will buy the game just for that. But it's like, that's why I say, like, I just wish it would be included. Like, I think it would be, like you said, more impactful if a week or two after they were like, yeah, hey, here's the DLC characters we're doing, and guess what, you know, every month we're releasing one free fighter. That would be awesome. You know, starting off with the Red Hood, next month is Sub-Zero, then after that is Starfire. You know, I think that would be cool, because then you could just keep rolling. Because by that time, I'd imagine they'd have another fighter ready, and another, and just keep doing that until the roster's full and they're done supporting it. You know, have new arenas. Like, I don't know. It's just more so because after playing Overwatch so much and being involved for, it's about to be a year now. It's kind of crazy. And seeing how well they've done it, where they've kept people in the community consistently invested for a fucking year. Like, that's not an easy job, especially nowadays with how many games come out and how good they have been. It's just, it's amazing, and that more people aren't following in those footsteps.
Yeah.
Just mind-blowing to me. And, you know, I do sound a little bit like an Overwatch fanboy. I don't deny that, because I think the game's spectacular. Like I said, I still play it on a nightly basis. But, you know, I just think they do microtransactions, DLC, post-launch support, just fantastic. Wonderful.
I think also, I mean, it sounds bad, but yeah, I think a lot of people just expect it, and so they're like, meh, and they get it, and they want their particular games. I think it's really stupid that one of the premier major characters is DLC. It seems, I don't know why Sub-Zero isn't just in the game.
Okay, Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero. Yeah, the fact that he's not in the main game proper, I'm just like, what the fuck ever. That was obviously done to sell the DLC, obviously, because people like Lone are like, well, I'm only going to play it if, or not only, but if his favorite character is Sub-Zero. That's and so to me, it's just odd. Like, it sucks. And I saw the price, and before the podcast, I thought it said $99 just for 3 characters, and I was yelling at Maddie, going, "What the fuck?" But that's the game and 3 characters. And then I was looking at the price, though, breaking that down, and I was like, their price sometimes just feels a little off too. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people disagree.
And the 3 DLC fighters, or is that the game?
It's $100. It's $100 for the game and the 3 fighters. I didn't look to see if the season pass, which
check that, because if you don't mind, because that's $40 for 3 fighters.
Yeah,
it's gotta be season pass.
Okay, and then I guess for me, if that's the season pass, but also includes the 3 fighters, then what's the season pass versus not getting the season pass? Like, then there's some confusion, and I'm sure somebody has the answer. It's just, once again, the reason that we're asking it is because it's weird. Like, that's it all breaks down to that. It's just an odd way of doing things. And I like the idea of cosmetic DLC myself. But
that's just the thing.
I love the idea of cosmetic DLC. In terms of paid DLC, I think it's the safest option just to have, we're going to have cosmetic DLC. People that get upset about that, I just don't really care about. When it's cosmetic, it doesn't affect gameplay. There's no overpowered characters like Maddie's concern suggested. And I think it's just one of the best way to do it. Whenever you have DLC that starts to change the gameplay and people feel like they need to pay to be able to compete, then problems start to arise, to be honest. And I'm trying to think in my head, and this is probably something that I think you would need to be on NetherRealm's side, look at the data and see what would be the equivalent. But if you had the paid option, and obviously somehow in game you could unlock that same character, and from NetherRealm's perspective, there's like enough engagement time to spend to unlock that character that's equivalent to them spending $5 or whatever it is for the character price. And I don't know what that would be, right? Like, let's say, for argument's sake, a player would need to spend 10 hours in the game for us to be happy that, we'll just give them the character for free as opposed to spending $5 on it. Whatever that amount is, I don't know. How you do that, I don't know, because I don't know what the numbers are. But I'm sure there is a way to balance that, because games in the past have allowed you to get the exact same character. Mobile games do it all the time. You can either play up until that point to unlock a certain thing, or you can just pay for it.
See, my thing is that how cool would it be, like, I know Injustice 2 is going to have that challenge mode tower thing or whatever, like, that started off in Mortal Kombat 9. I just think, and this is the gamer in me talking, not the businessman, like, how cool would it be is you complete that, it's this really taxing challenge. You get all the way to the top, you finish it, and at the end you unlock Sub-Zero. I just think that type of stuff's really rewarding.
It's the way that you used to do it.
Yeah, I think, except they fucked up in Mortal Kombat 9. They gave you like a skin for Melina. I was like, really? That's it? But in if you unlocked a secret fighter, like, that would be cool. That would not only get people to play your mode, but that'd be not even a throwback. That's just, I think, good game design, right? You reward the player at the end of a challenge with something that's not just meaningless.
I think one of the best moments that I had while gaming as a child is playing Super Smash on the 64.
I was just thinking that, yep.
And when you finish the first time, you unlock a new character, and then you have to fight that character. And only if you won that last fight after you won the entire game would you get that character. More? And I believe the first one was Jigglypuff, and then it was like Luigi after that. It was just like the coolest concept to me ever when you finish that game, and then there's this extra challenge, like a new fighter awaits or whatever it is, and only if you beat that fighter at that time would you unlock the character.
That's the thing, and it also does it through different modes. It did it through different difficulty and life amounts, I think, or that might have been a rumor. I don't remember, but like the way they make you change up the way you play the game to unlock these fighters, I think that's awesome. Not that Super Smash Bros. Didn't have DLC fighters. I don't know when they announced them either. But the idea of unlocking fighters is just for some reason been lost, where now it's not. It's like, hey, you got them all now, and we'll sell you the new ones later. It's like,
but
that's
you
entirely
know,
gone.
I don't even mind if so long as there's option. Like, this is the thing. I always promote. You know what? Give us as many options as you can. If you want to sell fighters to people that just want to buy the new fighters, they don't have enough time to play the game, maybe like myself, have that option. I think that's great. And then also have the option of people that, you know what, want to be able to experience games in the traditional sense, be able to play the game and then unlock the fighter on their own terms and on their own merit. And that might be more, you know, satisfying for them. Like exactly with my example with Super Smash. I think that would be the better option. But when you only have one option where the only way you can get this fighter is to buy it, then it doesn't feel as impactful.
So how do these options sound to you? First off, there isn't a release date or a price for this single Fighter Pack 1 announced yet. Let's see here. A price pack, I'll just read this snippet of the article. A price for the pack was not announced, but we do know these characters along with the other 6 are bundled together as part of Injustice 2's Ultimate Edition, which is priced at $100. The $80 Deluxe Edition also comes with these 3 characters. Like I said, no release date, no separate selling thing. So you spend $100, you get 9 fighters, I'm guessing. They're saying 6 others, so I'm guessing that's including the first 3. Or if you buy the digital Deluxe Edition. So now so now we got a price point narrowed down here. That's $20 for 3 fighters, so tax $7 a fighter.
It doesn't sound bad, but like, did you say though that in the base game there's only 6 fighters?
No. That's 6 other DLC fighters for $100.
Okay, apologies. Yeah, okay. So how many fighters are in the base game? Do we know?
There's actually, I'm actually looking on NeoGAF. They had a thread, and I just happened to open it, and while we were talking, it just loaded and loaded and loaded. And I was like, why is it taking so long? It's because it was loading all the pictures of all the different fighters. So scrolling down to it, the roster discussion, complete roster. Okay, 2, and then hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 26.
That's not bad for the base game.
Especially
this says complete roster. Give me 1 second. This says complete roster. So what's a DLC character? Give me a name.
Starfire.
Sub-Zero.
Yeah, she's not in here. So this looks like the starting.
Red Hood.
Okay.
Robin's in here, but no Red Hood. Green Lantern. So for what I can tell and what they look to be saying, that is your day 1. Yeah.
You know what? That's not bad, to be honest. I think that's a good amount.
I don't want to take away much from NetherRealm because they're one of the few companies who have consistently tried to offer a story in their fighting games. You know, and now it's because of them that starts to become a trend. So you got to give them credit there. It's just that I shouldn't put all the blame on NetherRealm, but it's just I want someone to break that trend in fighting games of selling fighters. You know. Because that's where I think everyone remembers at least one fighting game growing up where you unlock that secret fighter and you're like, yes, that was so rewarding, and that's gone now. You buy them now.
For me, I will say I do have a big complaint about the game that doesn't involve the fighters, and that's the consistent reuse of backgrounds and the fact that when you start, you only have, I think there's only going to be 8 or 9 total arenas in the entire game. And if anything, if you said, you know, what would you want to see? I would actually want to see the ability to get some more arenas day 1. Atlantis, the theater, those are all just redone. And I get that they're going to look better, of course, right? But
you're right.
I like to explore and that visual breakdown. Yeah, so if I'm Scorpion, but I can engage with him in 15 arenas, 16 arenas, that's pretty fucking cool. And unfortunately... fighting games has significantly gone away. Arkham Asylum's in here, which is a repeat. Atlantis, repeat. Gotham, repeat. Metropolis,
repeat.
A bar, repeat. Skull Ship, or Another Ship. We'll call it Another Ship, which is certainly repeat. So, and when I say repeat, I think we all understand. Graphically, they will look different, but they're still the same exact, motif, the same exact overall theme. And that's something I would love to see them.
Well, you know what I loved? I love Mortal Kombat story modes.
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
they're fucking amazing.
Wait,
Like,
I just
not
thought one thing we
amazing.
have to
is a big
consider,
word, but-
not to cut you off, we'll get to the story in just one sec, because I just thought one thing we do have to think about with the arenas in Injustice is there's like 3. So like you'll fucking hit them with like an elbow and they'll go flying into the next arena, which is a whole nother map.
I used to love when Mortal Kombat did that.
So it might be
much fun.
Metropolis, but it could be different parts of Metropolis. I mean, yeah, it's still, like you said, it's the same motif. I'm just saying there could be more underneath, where it's like, oh yeah, we got 10 basic arenas, but really it's like 30 when you think of how they split into 3 separate areas each time.
Yeah.
Yep.
But some areas don't. I'm pretty sure Atlantis in the first Injustice did not take you to a new location because you're underwater.
I don't think so either, because you smashed the globe, the water came out. You could do a couple specials, but I don't remember that either. But yeah, it's just something, regardless of the game, really, when it comes to fighters, I've always wanted that. I've always wanted more backgrounds. It's actually something that's bothered me since fucking like Virtual Fighter and shit, which is my favorite fighting game of all time. So
interesting. What were you saying, Lon, about the story in Mortal Kombat?
Oh, no, I was just saying that me being a bit of a story mark, I really like. I think the most fascinating part about Mortal Kombat's features, if you will, is the story, is the lore, and I think that's the case for many other people. Sometimes, even though I've played the story mode in Mortal Kombat, I'll just like go on YouTube and just watch the story mode from start to finish.
So do I.
It's
I
so
got
much
them downloaded.
fun.
It is. I've got Injustice downloaded. I watched it a couple days ago. Yeah, you bet. They're a blast.
Because,
he's right.
He's right. It's interesting to see, what actually happens lore-wise. It's like a movie, with... I remember the last Mortal Kombat, it was... The last one I remember, there was one after this, but it was the alternate timeline Mortal Kombat, right? So Raiden like spoke to himself in a past life, and then you would go through the experiences of like most major Mortal Kombats and see how they were different through the story mode. That was the most fun to me, really it was. Mm-hmm. And if they do that with Injustice, maybe they will. I don't know. I think that would be a hit because look at the characters you're dealing with. Yeah, I mean, there's a pre-established backstory with most of them.
True. I mean, I like a lot of the new fighters they're adding though. Like Damian Wayne looks awesome. He was definitely one of the bigger surprises because the way he moves around the field is really cool. He's got the sword and everything. It's fucking awesome.
What are they calling him? What are they calling him in the game? He's not in this list.
Maybe he's Robin.
Maybe this list is old. There is a Robin.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you mentioned a Robin, so that's maybe my guess.
Yeah.
Could be him.
I didn't know if you separated.
What else did they have? They have Brainiac. That was interesting.
Firestorm.
Yeah, they have like a lot of. And I credit them for this. They have
Blue Beetle.
A lot of exactly. They have a lot of these heroes that are kind of, I don't want to say no names, but you don't.
But yeah,
they're not in movies. They're not in TV shows where they've become popular. Where you got the Flash, you got fucking Gotham, you got all these different shows. So they make these brands recognizable.
They're Hawkeye from the Marvel movies. They're Hawkeye showing up and getting a job.
Yeah. Speaking of other fighters, have you guys caught wind of any of that big interview I think Video Games 24/7 did with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh no, it was just them talking mainly about like what they've learned from Street Fighter V, which had a pretty bad launch, and they're not doing like the cross PS4 to PC play anymore. They're doing a story now. One thing though that I've noticed is that all the fighters they've shown in the trailer, this latest gameplay trailer, were all the same fighters from the MVC3, and they had the same moves too. People are concerned about streamlining because they're saying it's going to be easier for people to pull off combos now in MVC3 or MVC Infinite, which I totally understand because they're saying like, oh, we want players who are new to come in and do cool looking stuff, but like to truly have that mastery and be good at the game, like you'll have to study up like any other fighting game. And I wonder if that brought any concerns for you guys who play fighting games as well. Do you get worried that there's a little bit of streamlining where like, you can't have... I mean, I don't get how you streamline a fighter much because, I mean, all you have to do, it's a trope. Go to the move list, try some moves out. Hey, do these two connect? Do I have enough frames to connect them? Yes or no? Okay, that doesn't work. Like, on to the next. Like, I don't know.
Well, I think in a weird way, you could almost think of it like macros, where it's, where you press one button and two things happen for a newbie versus pressing two buttons and the two separate things happen for somebody who knows what they're doing. And maybe one has a small delay compared to another. And if that's so, then here's why I think that could actually be cool. Because one of the things you learn in martial arts, for example, is that as you excel and as you train, your basic moves become far more useful. Yeah, and one of the reasons why is because people forget them. So somebody else is trying to spin kick you, and you snap kick them in the face because, well, you're 3 times faster because that's a basic move. It's faster. It's not as and so the idea of me playing Matty and Matty knowing his way. So Matty's doing the separate button presses and the down, up, left, right, left to get him to step forward, and I push one button. I may be slower, but maybe something happens where Matty's motor set to play better people, and that slowness, you will hear it from fighters. They'll be like, I got knocked out because the punch was slower than I thought it was going to be. Like I
know what you're talking about. Have you ever played a rhythm game and you get used to the quick speed, and then you go and play like you're playing Guitar Hero, you're hitting it all on expert, and then you go back to easy, and you're like, I can't fucking do this. It's too slow. Yeah, it's too slow.
Yeah, it's called motor setting in martial arts. It's called motor setting, and you can get motor set with another person. And timing, your timing gets motor set. And I love the idea as long as they can pull it off. But I personally think that a lot of it should be around, blocking, is always a big deal in a lot of games. Like, how do you block? Is it a perfect block? Is it a normal blah, 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 blah? I think a lot of it could be just around that so that everybody can pull off some of the normal moves the same way, but particular types of blocking do different things, and we've seen that in games. It's just going to be interesting to see how it all works because every game handles blocking different too. Some games you can hold it, some games you can't.
Some games you have to go backwards.
Fuck, I hate that.
I hate the worst kind of. Do you mean when you have to hold back?
Yeah.
I hate that kind of blocking. I like button. My brain just does not think like this. It thinks like tick, tick, tick,
Yeah, because your arms are down, and the second they hit you, then your arms come up. It's like, for me, I like pressing the button, seeing my arms ready. Like, okay, I'm blocking now. I like that a lot better. I was just wondering, though, because for me, it sounds like in MKX, I don't want to say it streamlined it, but like every character had that like 1, 2, 3 combo you could do, just like pressing the same button 3 times, and it was just like a 10% combo that you could pull off easily. And so I'm thinking that's what they're going to do. I think that's the thing, is that game developers have to be careful with that word, because you piss off a lot of elitist fans who are like, streamlining, are you fucking kidding? And so they gotta definitely pick their words wisely, because I think there's a difference between like, oh, we want more beginners to hop in compared to we're streamlining the experience, because streamlining is not always bad, but it can go south pretty fast, and you can lose a series identity with it.
Yeah, you know what? Like, they just need to. I say it like it's so fucking easy to do, but
are we gonna go to that? What that one viewer made a fan art of us?
Oh, that was great.
Just
wasn't
make it good.
Just make a good game. Yeah. Fucking, that's brilliant, Matty.
Wow, make a good game. Who would have fucking thought?
But you usually, anyways, with recent fighting games that I've played, the super moves are really easy to pull off, and what's hard to pull off are the massive combos. And that's like when you have a casual person playing a fighting game, usually they're just spamming super moves and a couple of small combos here and there, and they're fine with that, but they're unable to tap into the ultra hard combos that pros are going to be doing, right? Or people that have played the game for longer. I think that's enough of it's streamlined, but you've still got that harder aspect there. So streamlined doesn't have to necessarily mean all in one. Like, every combo doesn't have to be easy, or every combo or every super move doesn't have to be streamlined. You can have those set of moves that casuals can pick up and play and enjoy a character very easily. But then with every character, maybe you have a few supers, and maybe you have a few long combos that are just much harder to pull off, and you're not going to be able to do so without practice.
It's funny because Killer Instinct, how you kind of have that, like, what you got to do is you'll hit like a certain move, like you'll press down left B and you'll do a move, and from there you'll press like 2 buttons, and it'll allow you to keep chaining that combo, but then you have to, like, every couple of hits you have to do another one of those inputs, like a down right X, and then you can continue with another couple of hits. So it's simplistic on paper, where you look at it, you're like, I can do that, and then you realize how fucking fast the combos are, and that you have like all these different fucking permutations where you can like, you know, hit him with that downright X, and then you'll press the quick attack button, so then you'll be like pop pop like that, and you got to hit another input right away. And so I think that's a good example of a game that sort of streamlined its approach to combos, but still made it really complex. Where like you'll see people hitting like fucking. I'm friends with this kid who's disgustingly good at Killer Instinct on the Xbox One. Like the fight will be over and he'll keep you in air for like 200 hits, and I'm not exaggerating. That's that
fucking
good.
hilarious.
Yeah, and like so you'll be like, the fight's over. The fight's over. Can you fucking stop? And he'll keep going. And he's sitting there with a smirk on his face, kicking the shit out of you.
It's like in FIFA when you continuously watch your own goals and all the replays of it after you score.
I do that
Everybody else is skipping theirs, and you're like,
just hold the fuck up.
Stand by.
Yeah, stand by. I need to enjoy this.
I need to watch every single angle of my goal. Thank you. No, it's true. Do you know what I really want every single fighting game to have, now that you've mentioned Killer Instinct? Every single fighter game needs to have a combo breaker and have the announcer come over. Combo breaker! Yeah. It's the most satisfying feeling in the fucking world. The combo
breaker's the worst feeling, though. It's so demoralizing. You get hit by it,
really is.
And you're just like, fuck. But, that does it for all the news I had today. Has anyone got anything else?
No, I get. What did you guys talk about as I was dealing with my fucking internet?
Prey, and Bethesda's E3 thing. It was the tweet that you quoted as well, Lone, about Pete saying, like, you think there's only 2? You want to give us your thoughts on that?
Trolled me on that, Pete. He's like, all right, let me get the specific tweets out. So I'm like, oh, damn it, Pete. Yeah, and he's like, what? We're a publisher with 8 studios. We have more than 1 or 2 things going on. This isn't news. I respond with, and what are those more than 1 or 2 things? I can make news out of this. Don't you worry. Just I'll grab a notepad. And then he's like, code names are none your business.
Oh, no.
He's such a massive troll, Pete. I love him.
Hey, man, at least you're not going to end up on the front page of Reddit for getting fucking roasted.
Who did that?
That's the greatest thing.
It was like during some fucking kid said to him something really stupid, I think. And it was like at the time where the Fallout community was growing in popularity, so you'd see like new fans coming in, which is fine, but like they'd say things like they were educated when they weren't. And so I made a joke saying to P, I was like, yeah, welcome to the Fallout community, like this is how it is now. And he's like, I've been here since like Fallout 1. What are you talking about? And like someone screen grabbed it. It was like, Maddie got roasted by Pete Hines, and it ended up on the front page of Reddit. I was like, fuck me. I look like an asshole now.
That's so funny.
We all have those moments where we say something, and you're like, it makes total sense to you.
Yeah, it's like, wow, that backfired. I was just trying to be nice. Well, because what happened from there is like, people were like, Pete fucking hates Maddie. He fucking despises him. Bethesda laughs at him, and Pete's like, dude, we were kidding.
We're just joking around.
Yeah. Have you heard of it? No. People on the internet don't do that.
Yeah, we've actually met in real life.
What did you think on that? Do you think it was like anything, or?
What I think it is like they have 2 coming soon. You know, things being constructed on that picture, and I think people naturally assume there's going to be 2 announcements. But Pete's probably referring to what else is going to be announcements aside from just full games. Mm-hmm. So again, you know, Dishonored DLC, Doom deal. What the hell is the Doom DLC, dude? Like,
they did multiplayer, dude. They did a ton of multiplayer DLC. I wonder if they're going to do. This just crossed my mind. I'm surprised when we were talking about it, Karak, we didn't think. What if they did a Doom sort of version of Wolfenstein: The Old Blood?
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
That'd be interesting. That's definitely not a possibility.
There's so much to be told from Doom's story still. It ended on such a bummer.
Oh, I hated the ending so much.
Yeah. Anyways,
it was not hate it. It was just such a fucking awesome game, and then like there's so much build up, and at the end you're like, it's like
it was such a cliche ending too.
Fucking boner kill.
Yeah. But no, I think he's just referring to the other smaller announcements that are going to happen. Mm-hmm. What other, like, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be too much surprise. I think it's very obvious we're getting, I'm having a bit of a mind blank.
Wolfenstein, The Evil Within.
We're getting Wolfenstein. Maybe we'll get Evil Within. Skyrim on the Switch, things like that. I think they're very obvious things. If it's going to be something brand new out of left field from BGS, that will probably be the biggest surprise.
I'm going to go out on a limb, just a limb here, because what we know, there's been the rumors of people who have checked out Fallout VR and have been like, this is the game, blah, blah, blah. My rumor is that, complete guess, Microsoft says they have Rift Oculus compatibility, and Bethesda and them get together to do Fallout VR. And that it's an exclusive due to technology, due to power. That's just a total, probably won't happen, but Microsoft and Bethesda have a thing. They're like the relationship that can't break up, and they're hot. When they're together, they're the talk of the school, and it's funny because it's funny because there is something to be said about working relationships working out and people liking those and feeling comfortable in them. And there's something that goes on there behind the scenes that I don't know if they're special parties or what, but it seems like whenever they get together, little things can happen, and there's like sort of a weird agreement. And I don't mean a real like yes we both agree, but just in their philosophy on some things, not everything, because Pete has certainly said some stuff about Microsoft at times when he hasn't liked things, but I'd love to see that.
Pete's an honest guy.
He is. Yeah. I think he's. I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of particular people who maybe are the brunt of a lot of jokes and problems, which Bethesda has been about buggy games and stuff. Over time, they just become a little bit like it's not a big deal. I just went through this game releasing with all these fucking problems, and I lived, and so. Pretty soon they're like, yeah, that was stupid of them to say, and they don't worry about all the little stuff. They just are a little bit more loosey goosey, and that's cool. He's always been very like you said, a troll, not a troll in the way that people think we're saying.
He just doesn't give a shit.
And he's a little cynical, and he's a little jabby back at you, which is rare, but I like it.
I love it because what I'll see is like someone will come at him, and Pete will be like, the fuck, like, and he'll tell him like you said, he'll jab back just in a slight way, and someone will be like, how could you represent the company? You're not a professional. God fucking damn it. I'm like, dude, you just literally came at this guy. He gives you like a little joke and you bug out saying like he's a horrible representative. He's like, how can you talk to a customer like that? Give me a fucking break. If you're dishing out, you should be able to take it back. That's what I'm saying. It's
a nice fresher breath air. Like he does interact so frequently with fans, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. True. But no, he's funny as hell.
Yeah. I definitely think he's one of the easier to listen to and understand and sort of see where they're coming from bosses at a pub or dev that I know of. There's a couple others that I think are like that, but he's certainly one of the top ones.
True. Well, that's all we got for this week, ladies and gentlemen. It was a good one. It was a good one. That E3 hype is building up, man. It really is. I don't see. There's one thing I disagree with you, Lone, is that I think this E3 is going to be Bethesda's E3 rather. We know what we're getting, and I think they're aware of that. I can't imagine them. E3 is about the surprise factor, right? At least I think it is. That gets people talking about your game. They gotta have that like one game. They're like, you don't fucking know, because like it's
Fallout 3 remaster.
Out of all the IP, that's what I was thinking. Like New Vegas and Fallout 3 collection.
I'm gonna be honest. If Pete is as trollish as he is, here's how if I were Pete, here's what I would do. I would open our entire presentation with a massive star field that panned down into like a mobile title for Fallout again. And so like it's like and it's got this it's got like 2010 music and shit, and you're like, it's fucking here, and then it like pans down to a point and click adventure about some clown. And you're like, what the fuck? People would literally lose their shit about it. But I think that I personally believe, for reasons some backed up and some just for some reason, I do believe that this is going to be a fairly massive E3 all around. There's something, and some of the stuff I've talked to Maddie for sure prior to jumping on podcasts, there's just some things people have said and like questions on who can do what that hasn't happened before. And so it's made me pretty interested in like what some of these companies are thinking of doing. And I'm excited to see where it goes, man. Like I think this is an E3 that could be one that like in 5 or 6 years, we still talk about as being, holy shit, do you remember when?
Yeah.
And I think it's also because it's the middle of the gen. I think that we're going to new systems, yes, but the old systems will still be compatible.
And power squeezed out of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Xbox just needs to announce a bunch of first-party titles, and then I think it's a massive
company
E3.
Seems to be in that situation now where like Xbox needs their first parties. PlayStation's sitting on a bunch of good shit right now. Spider-Man,
just have so much,
etc. Apparently, Red Dead Redemption 2 is still coming out this year. Bethesda kind of has their cards shown, which they don't usually do. Like, you put out that invite, and all the IPs are there, but the only two that are missing are The Evil Within and Wolfenstein. Like, that's a dead giveaway. It's like they obviously, at least I'd imagine, have at least a couple more up their sleeve that people might not expect. And so that's why I'm thinking, like, everyone's in this position now. EA's got Star Wars Battlefront 2, so, like, that'll be a huge thing. I'm assuming that's when we're going to see a gameplay trailer for the Visceral Star Wars. There was a rumor that it was supposed to come.
We'll see a bunch of Destiny 2 stuff.
That's true. That's coming in a couple of weeks, actually. So, yeah.
You will also see a good number, I would assume, from what's being talked about. You will see a good number of third-party devices or third-party games showing on the Scorpio.
There you go. See, yeah, I forgot about that Scorpio this year, too. I mean, like, there's a lot on the line here for a lot of companies where they can really fucking kill this E3.
Can do. Right. I think that's what I feel is like we're going to be talking about. Remember when they knocked it out of the park? Well, they also knocked it out of the park, and it'll be one of those discussions about, which park has the lower fucking, bleachers and shit, where we're trying to get that minutia into it. And that's exciting. That's super exciting.
Yeah. Well, now we can wrap it up. Now we've done our usual 10-minute ramble at the end. Thank you, both of you, for joining, Lone, even though you were a little late. It's okay, man. It's all good.
I'll explain. Don't worry.
No, it's fine. I'm kidding. It's not a big deal. We kind of planned this. We were like, we'll just get him in the middle of it. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys for joining. Thank you to everyone who listened. We had a lot of people respond to our hashtag 2 weeks ago. That was awesome. Do we have any unique hashtag this week that we want to just toss out there? Because, I mean, fuck, the amount of people who sent it our way was actually pretty overwhelming.
Well, okay, I thought of the last one, so I think it's only fair that you guys think of one. Come on, guys. Just something stupid. Like hashtag Pete roasted Matty.
No. Not allowed. No. We could do hashtag roast.
All right, hashtag roast.
Roast.
All right.
Yeah, that's how we.
If he got here, yep. Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will catch you next week.
Peace out.